This is something that I learned really, really early on. And it's a little bit different way to look at the contrast between what you don't want and what you do want, and how interrelated they are. And understanding that and then what to do about that often paves the way for what you do want to actually show up. So that's the topic of today's episode of Living Spiritually in a Practical World. So I'm not really sure. I know the map showed up fairly early on, and the understanding is it's not uncommon, at least to happen with myself. And I think, well, it's a lot of us, is we have the experience, and then the understanding follows the experience. And I think the other thing was something called Ho'oponopono. I I'm not even going to try and spell it. So Google will fix it. It's been out long enough now. Everybody's kind of jumped on that bandwagon, I guess. So this was back in 2009. So Ho'oponopono. And one of the philosophies behind it is making peace with fill in the blanks. And then the other thing that Source talked to me about was the difference between the power of the words making peace with. And the real power word in there is making. So what the flavoring or the energy around that is, I am choosing to make peace with fill in the blanks. So what that doesn't mean is I am agreeing with it. What that doesn't mean is I am accepting it. What it doesn't mean is there's a winner or there's a loser. I think this is really the powerful thing. Often you'll hear the phrase peacemaker. And and usually that's a really no-win situation, where you're trying to make peace with all these external events. I think if we can pull back on that, because it's not about changing anything out here. It's about making peace with not what's happening outside in your external world, but with your internal environment. Okay, so let's go to the flip chart, Mr. Flip Chart, and we'll help explain that. So this is what you want. Now, I don't know. Let's see if this will. Oh, yeah, it's dark enough. So this is what you want, and this is what you don't want. Another way to think of that is this is where you are, and this is where you want to be. We'll just do that. That works. So you're somewhere. Your external experience is something, and you want it to be something else. Now, using energy mechanics, the frequency of where you're at is different than the frequency of where you want to be. Now, the first teaching in this is, if you look at this, you would go, okay, so I'm here and I want to be over here. So what I'm doing is I'm moving from one experience to another. And that's where, from an energy mechanics perspective, is inaccurate. So you are moving, or if you will, changing, but you're not so much doing this as you're doing this. So it's not even so much that you're moving to some other place. And I think that's one of the things that trip us up. As we get into the next map, you'll see this. So we go, I'm here and I want to be over there. But the very fact that we're looking for what we want. Let me see if this will make sense. So I am here and I want to be over there with what I do want. So that frames it in that what I do want is somewhere other than here. Try that one. Right? So I'm in one spot and I need to go somewhere else to find what I'm looking for. As opposed to, I'm vibrating here. And if I can just do whatever I can / need to do to change my vibration to here, now you're vibrating at the same frequency as what you do want. And actually, what you're not vibrating or harmonizing with or resonating with is what you don't want. So, oh, I got lines all over the place. There we go. So we're not going anywhere different. We're just choosing to vibrate differently. Now, another way you can look at this, and I don't have animation installed here, or I could do that, is we're not so much doing this as we're doing this, which, of course, law of attraction, duh, right? So we're not going somewhere different, because what we're looking for, so the first truth is this. I don't have my text tablet up, otherwise I'd type it in, but you'll get this. The first truth with this is what you're looking for non-physically is already here. So we're not going somewhere else to find it. We're changing our vibration. We're changing our vibration so we resonate with it. So we're not really going anywhere. We're just doing this. So that's kind of the foundation for this. Now the actual scale and topic of the whole thing about making peace with is over here. So this is what you don't want. This is what you do want. And this is where we identify contrast. So you can think of it as different frequencies or different colors. So I have what I do want, and I have what I don't want. And what I want to do is actually blend them together. Because in this crazy way, we're not even so much going somewhere different. We're reconfiguring the energy to form something different in our physical world. I'm going to say that again and differently. Really spiritual. Lego blocks. You have Lego blocks and you've constructed them into something that looks like a giraffe. But now you want an elephant. So, but you only have, you've used all your Lego blocks to build a giraffe. So, and this is the whole thing about going somewhere else to get it. Well, I can't get new blocks to build an elephant because I'm using all my blocks to build this giraffe. And that's very true. And in a very real way, that's kind of mechanically accurate. So what we're doing is we're actually taking the giraffe and we're taking it apart and using those same Lego blocks to create the elephant. Remember James Ray, he said something that, I'm again paraphrasing, when you dam, so D-A-M-N, something you don't want, you're actually damming, so D-A-M, what you do want from showing up. And this is very valuable because so often we look at what we don't want and we damn it or judge it. Now, judgment isn't a bad thing. It's just a very powerful thing. So what judgment does is that takes whatever we are choosing to judge. So we got our giraffe, and it seals it in. It's like it glues those Lego blocks together. So it's always going to be a giraffe. So, but the more we go, God, this sucks. I don't want this. I want to love, blah, blah, blah. We're adding more glue to the blocks, which ironically, the more we don't want it, the more it seals it in, which makes it more difficult for those blocks to be released so they can be constructed into something that looks like an elephant. And this is this whole blending thing that I'm talking about, that you've identified the contrast. It looks like a giraffe. It doesn't look like an elephant at all. There's your contrast. So in a really neat way, our job is, and for our purposes here, is twofold. And the first one is do our best to not judge what we don't want. Now, in doing that, that doesn't mean we have to like it. Okay, so this is really important. Sometimes we go, well, if I'm not judging it, that means I have to like it, agree with it, whatever. Not at all. When we are not judging something, we're not saying it's good. We're not saying it's bad. In a way, we're not labeling it one way or another. That's it. We might think it really sucks, right? And that's okay, right? We don't have to like it. But if we don't, I'm going to use extreme words, you don't have to love it, but you also don't want to necessarily hate it, because either one of those will lock it in. So in order to go from here to here, the first thing we need to do is kind of let that glue that's holding that together dissolve a little bit. Why? Because the same Lego blocks that construct this are the ones that construct this. And that's the key. It's the same building materials, the same blocks. We're just constructing them into something that is a different experience, right? Giraffe, elephant. So one of the techniques that I use often is when, as I said, I received early on, really, really valuable, is making peace with the contrast, right? And this is really important to clarify this. We're not making peace with this. We're not making peace with this. We're making peace with that. We're making peace with peace. We're making peace with the contrast that exists between what we want and what we don't want. So in a way, we're blending those two together. And what I would do, I would even do something as simple, and remember, simple is often very powerful, is when you're in the presence of those two, you feel the contrast, or you feel a contrast. So what I would do is, as I was feeling that, I would say something similar to, I make peace with you, right? You're not asking for it. You're not actually trying to even introduce change. What you're doing is you're making peace with the contrast. Not this, but this. Now, this is really, really powerful and important to understand, that what you're making peace with, really the issue, if you will, often the resistance, the restriction, what's slowing stuff down, is the contrast that you feel between the two. We want to bring those two together, because in allowing them to come together, they are now blending into what you want. So in this really cool way, what you're doing is you're taking this and this, you're bringing them together to create this. And this is why the whole thing about not judging, and again, doesn't mean we agree with it, doesn't mean we have to like it, none of that type of stuff, about not judging is so powerful, because we're really bringing together, making peace with the contrast between what we don't want and what we do want. And as we do that, we're allowing those to flow together and create this. It's that bringing together, because it's the same Lego blocks. That's the thing. It's the same Lego blocks, just constructed to look like something different. So your homework assignment is to practice. And of course, every awareness is so powerful, right? So now you have some new tools. Now you have some new understanding. So what you're going to do is, be aware. This is what I don't want. This is what I do want. Okay. So as I kind of hold those two, Just be aware. Don't even go looking for it. Just be aware of whatever contrast. So contrast, how does it manifest in our body? Tension. And that can manifest in a myriad of ways, but that's kind of what you feel in that contrast, right? So what you're going to practice doing is when you feel that, focus on the contrast between the two. And then the tool that I use, and give it a try, is just simply saying, I make peace with you. I make peace with the contrast. I make peace with fill in the blanks. Again, we're not making peace with this. We're not making peace with this. We're making peace with that. Really important. That's what you're making peace with, is the contrast. I make peace with you. Okay, that's your homework assignment. And this is this episode of Living Spiritually in a Practical World. See you next time.